the Cable Guy. How it started.
I went on stage one day and I said, hey, this guy will come over to your house. Hey, did you order cable? Well, somebody's ordered something. And I come off stage in like a beeline. Rob Schneider said, that Cable Guy thing is hilarious. And David Spade goes, that's a Saturday Night Live character.
Now, hear Larry the Cable Guy and the Fun Bunch. Wednesdays at 11 a.m. East.
On Sirius XM 97 or listen on the Sirius XM app. Get her done.
Don't waste valuable time managing playlists, downloading, or sifting through commercials when you could be zoning out, rocking out, or just kicking back to the music you love. Visit SiriusXM.com/go to quickly sign up online and activate your radio. SiriusXM offers commercial-free music from nearly every genre at the touch of a button. Select your favorite channels, set your presets, and let SiriusXM's music experts handle the rest. Subscribe now and activate your radio. Visit SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly or call 844-711-8800 now.
The puck drops here. And the NHL on SiriusXM sounds like this.
Score! The captain completes the comeback.
What a save! Ilya Sorokin got a piece of it with his glove.
Connor McDavid, his 60th goal.
Hear every NHL game all season long on SiriusXM and the hometown announcers on the SiriusXM app. And talk about the day-to-day drama of the hockey season on NHL Network Radio Channel 91. To hear NHL Network Radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
Did you know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SiriusXM app filled with ad-free music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
Imagine a long road trip where the designated DJ isn't forced to flip from station to station, avoiding commercials and trying desperately to find a signal. Where you're not forced to resort to endless rounds of the license plate game to kill time. Stop imagining and start listening to commercial-free music from nearly every genre, coast to coast. Subscribe to SiriusXM and your music stays with you, whether you hit the interstate or take the back roads. Call 844-711-8800 to activate your radio now.
It's comedy for everybody on Pure Comedy. Good, clean material from today's top comics, like Jim Gaffigan, Nate Bargatze, Brian Regan, and more.
Big fake news about a sleeve. 2 sleeves is a serving size. I open them both and eat them like a treat.
Hear your favorite emerging and legendary comedians without all the dirty stuff. That's Pure Comedy, SiriusXM 98. Or find us anytime using the SiriusXM app. To hear Pure Comedy, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/go.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs, and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at EquityZoneMortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast.
Grando Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Jonathan of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! It's 3 o'clock in the morning. As I done told everybody, it's a wonderful time for the holiday season. I've been nominated to be the spokesperson of my community, and sometimes I want to bring the neighborhood together, and sometimes I do it at 3 o'clock in the morning. And some people just don't appreciate it. But you don't have to wait till 3 o'clock. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 29 podcast platforms all over the universe on a beautiful December the 13th, 2023. I want to tell you, you can follow Big C Sports Podcast on 29 podcast platforms: Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, Tuned In Podcast, Good Pods Podcast, Amazon Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. You can also follow Big C Sports on GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa, Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Beatport Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Policy, Podcast Republic, and also one that used to scare me but now it doesn't, is allfees.ai. Give that some praise because the robots are trying to take over. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast streaming OTT on 4 TV podcast platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. You can give that some praise. Really do appreciate that. What I also love giving praise to is the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced of helping veterans and their loved ones get help. And if you know anybody going through issues, they really are experienced helping people. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise because we all need somebody to lead them. Silly story. I was, I told you, I'm trying to become a comedian on the side. And I was going through some jokes for, adult jokes. They're clean enough to say on the airwaves, but they're also adult jokes, if that makes sense to you. So, ho, 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 sing it with me. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. So rumor has it, a man comes home 2 days early because he was trying to get home. He was trying to get back in town for Christmas. And so he opens the door. He said, man, who already opened some boxes? There's all kind of rose petals on the ground. There's all type of human, what they call, pantyhose and socks and underpants going up the stairs. So he's going up the stairs he was trying to hide the toys so he and his wife could wrap the toys. And all he heard was ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. He kept going up the stairs, and the closer he got to the master bedroom, he kept hearing ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. So he opened the door, and to his dismay, Merry Christmas. He heard ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. And a Happy New Year. He said, excuse me, well, Santa, what are you doing in my bed? And he said, ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. And the wife wakes up and said, well, not that she was asleep. She said, honey, what are you doing home so early? And Santa was going, ho, ho, ho. He said, what is Santa doing in my bed? She said, I was making a Christmas list. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. Give Christmas a break. He was just making a list. Yeah, I thought it was funnier when I read it. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. What kind of list are you making? He was just making a list. I want to tell you, you can also make a list with Big C Sports Podcast because I produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sounds. Ho, ho, ho. The sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. I was just trying to see what she wanted for Christmas. Oh. All the commercials are done. The stats are provided. The storytelling. I even do the play-by-play. And then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms all over the universe. Be careful of Santa Claus in a red suit. He might be trying to get the list before you get to it, if that makes sense to you. What they say, he's making a list. He's checking it twice. He's going to find out who's naughty or nice, because Santa Claus is coming to town. Ho! Be careful if he's naughty or nice. How would he know? He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you've been bad or good, so you better be good for goodness sake. Ho, ho, ho! How does Santa Claus know when the husband's out of town? If that makes sense to you, Santa Claus is coming to town. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports in the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, ho, 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 ho. He said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then he said, let there be light. And then he said, ho, ho, ho. You know, I never missed a show since doing Big C Sports back at the crew, even if it was Christmas. I love things that I do with Big C Sports. I'm telling you, so many things going on in my mind, but I always love paying homage the way nobody else does. Ho, ho, ho! Oh, be careful when Santa's getting his list in the upstairs bedroom, if that makes sense to you. I want to give praise to the California rep. I told you it's clean jokes. It's all good. The story, I cannot confirm or deny if the story's real. But Santa Claus is coming to town. However, hopefully reparations is in his bag for California. I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force. They had the 16th task force to do what the 16th president did, was that's pass the Emancipation Proclamation, so descendants of child slavery would get our money. And then, unfortunately, when President Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson came along and he vetoed the bill, and he gave it back to the Southern Confederates. But I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I want to give praise to Camila Moore. She's the chair of the task force. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Amos C. Brown, the vice chair. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I love giving praise to the #1 senator in the United States of America, California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. And you know, when people say, Joe, why do you call him the #1 senator? Well, #1, he's in the best state in the union. That's California. He also was sponsored name, image, and likeness NIL to help college athletes get paid. That's Senator Stephen Bradford that did that. But even more so than that, he helped sponsor the Ebony Alert, which helps find with law enforcement more young black people when they go missing, the way the Amber Alert helps find white children with law enforcement and resources. And he's also part of the California Reparations Task Force. You got to give that some praise. That's why he's the #1 senator in the United States doing President Abraham Lincoln's work. I want to also give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Steppe. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Cheryl Grewis. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to her attorney, Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. And I want to give praise to Donald K. Tamaki, attorney at law. He's brilliant. Part of the California Reparations Task Force. Also, as a Japanese American, he also received reparations when Japanese were interned in internment camps. I want to thank This Is CNN, proud sponsor of the Big C Sports Podcast. Really do appreciate that. I want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsor of the Big C Sports Podcast. I want $6 billion, and I want it now. I want it before the end of this year. I want it before December 31st, 2024. December 21st, beg your pardon, December 31st, 2023. That kind of money made me kind of miss my words, if that makes sense, Jim. I want to also say thank you to T-Mobile, the largest leader in 5G and proud sponsor of the Big C Sports. I love giving that praise. I want to thank the Double O, who was part of the National Black Wall Street Project Executive Payout Committee, and she sent me this order on, they call it Executive Order 13985, further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's out of the White House. Really do appreciate her. I want to give praise to Senators Marco Rubio and Rick Scott out of Florida. They reintroduced a bill to restore Holocaust survivors' rights. I love giving that praise. Nobody complains. I want to give praise to Georgetown University because they also pledged over $1 billion to descendants of chattel slavery that helped build Georgetown University. They were selling families. They were selling men, women, and children. I said they were selling men, women, and children. And they know the wrong of their ways. And now they pledged over $1 billion and counting to make amends for the harm that they caused. Georgetown is in the same city, Washington, D.C., that the White House is in. Why did Georgetown University beat the White House to reparations? Right now, President Joe Biden is trying to give more money to Ukraine. And some of the Republicans are saying, I'll not tolerate it. I'll not tolerate it giving more money to Ukraine until we pass reparations now, reparations forever. Even many Republicans want to pass reparations. And President Joe Biden, he says he wants Congress to study it, but I don't see him on TV talking about it. Why is President Biden on television talking about giving more money, another $60 billion to Ukraine, and not even talking about reparations? That to me is bizarre because Ukraine did not put President Joe Biden in office. It was majority of the black vote that put President Biden in office. You would think that would be a clarion call to start saying, instead of talking to a foreign governor or government about giving them over $160 billion. You would think he would be championing the people that put him in office. Because right now they're taking the vote for granted. They're thinking, oh, those black folks, just tell them what we gonna do. But we can just give the money to somebody else. The money that these foreign countries are getting was set aside for black Americans after the Emancipation Proclamation in Freedmen's Bank. We know that. And I just speak what I feel. It doesn't mean everyone has to agree. But Ukraine did not put President Biden in office. It was the black vote. Remember, he was down in the polls until Clyburn got together with all the black politicians in the South and the ministers, all the clergy members, and told the black community to go out and support Joe Biden because even though he signed the crime bill, he's gonna do something for you guys. And he needs to do it because no reparations, no vote. You best believe they're not going to be going over to the Ukraine asking them to vote for him. He's going to be back in the black community, asking for the black leadership to go get the black folks to round up and get them to the polls so they can vote for me. He did offer Executive Order 13985. You can Google it because he talked about advancing money and resources into the black community. Not in a basketball court, not in an amusement park, not in a convention center so we can learn about, I have a dream. That's in the past. We need to have the money. The same thing that needs to be done for descendants of chattel slavery is to fund reparations the same way you're asking Congress to fund the Ukraine. Right in front of our eyes. Right in front of our... If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Remember that. The clock is ticking. We know the election is less than 11 months away. We know that. Because there will be a new election in the United States. It'll either be an Al Gore moment. What? They didn't vote for me? But I told them I made all those promises to them. I gave the money to foreign countries. I didn't get the people that got me in office. But they never demanded anything. No reparations, no vote. Give that some praise. You already know it. You can't say you didn't know it. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Where'd you get that from, Curry? I want to tell you, I want to thank Double O, part of the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me an article that was sent by the United Nations. United Nations? Yes, the United Nations. What kind of article came about the United Nations that people don't know about? I'll tell you what it was that came from the United Nations that people don't know about. and they should know about it, especially as they watch President Zelensky come over in front of in the Congress, and he's having a meeting. It lasted over 2 hours, and he's so confident that he's going to get that money that he didn't even wear a suit. He showed up in a sweatshirt. But Double O said this to me from the United Nations. Big C Sports is different. The United Nations is pro-reparations in the United States of America. It says that strong leadership and political will are crucial to reparatory justice. And this was in September 19th, 2023. Reparatory justice for people of African descent. That's a United Nations report. An in-depth report. This is what President Biden should have been talking about, not Zelensky about getting $160 billion for a war they admit they're losing. An in-depth report focused on reparatory justice. What about Draymond Green, Curry? What about Draymond Green? What about his suspension? The United Nations didn't give a crap about Draymond Green. What they care about is descendants of child of slavery, African Americans. Because it says the United Nations report focused on reparatory justice for people of African descent. It was published September 23rd, 2023. And it said that it urges states to show strong leadership and political will in tackling the lasting consequences of enslavement, the trade in enslaved Africans, and colonialism. The report to the United Nations General Assembly. What about Draymond Green, Curry? The report to the United Nations General Assembly by the United Nations Secretary General. It sets out a series of concrete steps for states in the United States and the international community to address the continued harm suffered by people of African descent, highlighting the intrinsic link between the legacies of colonialism and enslavement and contemporary forms of systemic racism and racial discrimination, intolerance, and xenophobia faced by people of African descent. And even President Zelensky said, whoa, I thought they would have already paid reparations to descendants of child slavery. Didn't they build this country for free? That led to immense wealth that I'm here trying to get to you guys to give to me? You got to know that it's more than just basketball. I know they got us shucking and jiving. And what about Draymond Green, Curry? What about Draymond Green? Well, let me tell you something about Draymond Green coming up. But I really do, I want people to understand that Big C Sports was also written an article by NBC News, by CBS News, and the Associated Press. It's important that I say it because it gives me validation. It's not just my opinion. It's the opinion of NBC News, CBS News, the Associated Press, the largest news organizations in the United States of America. They interviewed Big C Sports. You can Google it, March 30th, 2023. It says Charlton Curry of Them There Hills, California, who discusses reparations on this Big C Sports podcast. You can Google it. That's for all the people that said I talk too much politics on a sports show. Well, CBS News and NBC News and the Associated Press, they disagree with you. They say I don't talk it enough. It says cash payments are necessary. That money talks. The same kind of money that President Zelensky is trying to get. Big C Sports talked about it with the Associated Press. Because we deserve the money that you got to be blind, deaf, and dumb to not realize that our country has been giving money to all these foreign governments and ignoring the fact that descendants of child of slavery have been waiting since 1865 to get compensation. And that's a fact. You would have to be deaf, dumb, and blind to not understand that. And when a foreign government can come to the United States in a sweatsuit and speak to our dignitaries with his hands out saying, give me some money. What money? The money that was set aside for descendants of child of slavery. But they're so busy saying, what about Draymond Green? What about Draymond Green being suspended? You would think all of our black voices in media, instead of thinking about Draymond Green being suspended for a basketball play, and egregious one at that. If you're going to suspend Draymond Green for doing something egregious, what's the NBA going to do to step up to say to the White House, reparations now, reparations forever? Because it's egregious to keep pretending that reparations are not due to descendants of child slavery. Or we're going to suspend a black man because he should not have committed an egregious foul. If slapping a man upside the head is an egregious foul and cause for a suspension, what is lynching cause for? What does raping cause for? What does murdering cause for? What does selling off of children call for? What does 100 years of Jim Crow cause for after slavery happened from 1619 to 1865? What does that call for? What does it call for? And I've been telling Adam Silver, who's getting a letter from the National Black Wall Street Project, petition the White House to pay reparations to descendants of child slavery the same way you offer the suspension of Draymond Green. We believe in ending racism and we believe in liberty and justice for all, but we don't want to. We got to make sure we got to suspend Draymond Green. All we got to do, and I'm talking to the black clergy and even the white clergy, if we have the faith the size of the grain of a mustard seed. As for black Americans, descendants of child slavery, what President Zelensky is asking for, he's asking for the money. He's not asking you to build a basketball court in the Ukraine. He's not asking for you to build a play center in the Ukraine. We see that war is horrific. But there's been a war going on in the United States against people of color. It's just a silent war. Massively incarcerated as a people. President Biden, he knows. He signed the crime bill. The war on drugs, Ronald Reagan did that. They were trying to put as many people of color into the criminal justice system as possible. A lot of prisons are privatized, traded on Wall Street. That was also built by black people. At some point in time, T.D. Jakes, where's T.D. Jakes? Where's Joel Osteen? Asking for the tithe every Sunday. And then we have a foreign country come to the United States in a sweatsuit and ask for money that was set aside for descendants of child slavery. Curry, what about Draymond Green? What about Draymond Green? I'm just telling you, it's time for reparations in that same energy to do the right thing for descendants of child slavery. I'm going to get into, I talked about it, reparations assembly bill. It's called AB 3120. California, it's already at the legislative level. The legislative has it. If they have the same stones that President Zelensky had, don't wear a suit. I was at the final California Reparations Task Force and many more than that. And most people were dressed so sharp in nice suits for the men, suits and ties. And the women were dressed in nice attire, business attire. And the media showed up. They were dressed in nice attire. For the most part, the reporters were. And everybody was fancy and saying all the pleasantries that you could say. And we're still at the legislative level. About what? The proof is already there. More than 4 million Africans and their descendants were enslaved in the United States and the colonies that became the United States from 1619 to 1865. The institution of slavery was constitutionally and statutorily sanctioned by the United States from 1619 to 1865. The slavery that flourished in the United States constituted an immoral and inhumane deprivation of Africans' life, liberty, African citizenship rights, and cultural heritage, denied the fruits of their own labor. President Zelensky is not coming to the United States to do labor. He's not coming saying, let me work for that $160 billion. He's saying, what did Rick James say in this movie? He said, give it to me, baby. You know I haven't had enough. Give it to me, 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 give me that stuff, that sweet funky stuff. Yeah! Give it to me, baby. We want the real Rick James. You can't have the real Big James. You got to have Big C, if that makes sense to you. But we keep acting as if we don't know what the black folks need. But they gave the white man what he needed. The Republicans are saying we're not gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe. And Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said, we don't have an agreement. And they're going on their Christmas pause. I don't know if they're going to give them. They have until Friday to give them the money. Let's put a bet. Will Congress give President Zelensky of Ukraine another $60 billion for Christmas? Or will they pass reparations? Black Americans that are going to be asked to vote, and white people too. What do you think is going to become the reality more soon? Another 100? What we got already gave him $100 billion. Now he's asking for another $60 billion. What's more likely to happen? Reparations for descendants of child slavery, or more money to the Ukraine before Christmas? I just told you everything that happened to Black Americans that worked from they worked from cradle to grave. No health insurance, no life insurance, no wages, no promotions, no health care, couldn't bequeath anything, couldn't own land, couldn't own a business, couldn't protect their families. The slave master could come in and take your wife and daughter and son and take them and sell them off right in front of your eyes. Look at all the trauma that garbage caused. And then after slavery was abolished and money was set aside for Freedmen's Bank for descendants of slavery, Congress appointed 50 white men to be trustees of the bank. And they stole the money. And now President Zelensky's here asking for more money. Why can't our black politicians do the same thing? What are you afraid of? The white man came here and he said, give me the money that was set aside for slaves, that you guys never paid them. They're too busy watching, is Draymond Green going to be suspended? What do you think of Draymond Green being suspended? I can't believe they're going to suspend Draymond Green. That's the only thing I hear our black reporters talking about. Is Draymond going to be suspended? Aren't they tired of that behavior? And I've been asking them to put the same kind of passion in the reparations. You know, like President Zelensky is before he takes all the money. Well, that's my story, and I'm still going to give that some praise. I want to get into some things that are important because it's real. I love Big C Sports Podcast, but I can't be shucking and jiving. I can't be the only one that saw our president Biden that was put in office by the black vote. It was not the Ukrainian vote that put him in office. It was the black vote. And we know that reparations is part of the task force. Not only have I been to almost all the meetings in California, but I was even written up. How many people can you say that on a sports show that were written up by the Associated Press on reparations? Milatny strike. It's so important that I'm not the only one. How can I should have President Zelensky come on the Big C Sports Podcast? I want to say, President Zelensky, this is Big C Sports. How you doing, sir? He said, I'm doing fine. Thank you for calling. How can I help you? I said, I want to learn something from you. You know, it's the holidays. They say it's better to give than receive. He said, well, thank you, Charlton. How can I help you? I said, rumor has it that you came to the United States like Santa Claus, and you got over $100 billion. And he said, yeah. Well, he said, well, that's not like Santa Claus, Big C. Santa gives presents. He doesn't take presents. Except for the guy in my skit that was upstairs giving the ho, giving the wife what she wanted for Christmas, asking him what she wanted for Christmas. She said, ho, ho, ho. be that as it may, I would ask President Zelensky, what do you say to President Biden about reparations, about paying descendants of child slavery, what President Abraham Lincoln offered through the Emancipation Proclamation? He said, well, I didn't ask him about you guys. I asked him to give that money to me for the war that we are losing. Where'd the money come from? The money that was set aside for the slaves. But most of the slaves, their offspring, they keep talking about, is Draymond Green going to be suspended? The same airwaves out of Zelensky's mouth, I need another $60 billion. Out of the mouths of our black reporters, what about Draymond Green? What about Draymond being suspended? Same airwaves, same country. And I asked President Zelensky, what are your thoughts on telling President Joe Biden to sign reparations in the law executive order the same way he gave you $100 billion? And he said, first of all, you can't be the only one asking for it, Big C. I got to give that some praise, and that's a clue. I want to get into some things that happened recently in sports because all the sports leagues, Major League Baseball, NFL, and NBA, how dare you not champion reparations to the White House the same way President Zelensky came over here asking for money that was set aside for descendants of child slavery. It's not raising your taxes. And then today, President Gavin, maybe I'm speaking into the future, California Governor Gavin Newsom, he called for a spending freeze in California. Say they tighten up the belt straps. That's the same governor that mandated a California reparations task force. But people got to know the money that's due to pay reparations doesn't come out of California taxpayers. That money was already set aside by the federal government. President Trump used some of it. President Obama used some of it. President Biden's using some of it too to give to the Ukraine. That $14 trillion, it was already set aside. As we stand up for the kickoff, the Atlanta Braves' Ronald Acuna Jr. is a strong reminder to rivals amid the great Shohei Ohtani for the LA Dodgers. I'm telling you, the Braves star baseball player, Ronald Acuna Jr., he's been seen as the reigning National League MVP even after the Dodgers signing of Shohei Ohtani. The Los Angeles Dodgers made undoubtedly the biggest money move this offseason, both in a literal and figurative sense, when they agreed with superstar dual threat Shohei Ohtani on a 10-year, $700 million deal. Maybe Zelensky should ask the Dodgers for some money. And that deal makes the 29-year-old Japanese international the owner of the biggest contract in professional sports history. From Jackie Robinson to the integration of baseball, an African-American, to Shohei Ohtani, a Japanese international, the biggest sports contract in professional sports history. No one can say that reparations are not due. We put so much focus in the athletes, but we have in our hand the opportunity to pass reparations. They're not going to do it before Christmas because they're about to go on Christmas break. But will they slip some money into President Zelensky's pocket before they go? I don't know. No reparations, no vote. If I were running for president, I would think I would support the class of people that put me into office. Ronald Acuna Jr., he may already be able to take on the reigning American League MVP and the powerhouse of the Dodgers if his offseason exploits are any indication. I'm telling you, there's something about sports that we all love. Sports is a billion-dollar industry. Boys and girls sports is the foundation to the billion-dollar industry. The Brave Star won the Home Run Derby in his home for the second consecutive year, defeating former Major League Baseball star Yasiel Puig in the final round of the competition. And he's out of Venezuela. In fact, he's continuing to compete in the offseason in full swing, working on his game by playing more baseball in his home country of Venezuela. I want you to give him some praise. He's still trying to improve his craft. Just like President Biden needs to improve his craft and realize who put you in the office. and quit ignoring the fact that President Abraham Lincoln gave a mandate for reparations. And not one president has the decency to do it. I was talking about Santa Claus. President Obama was at a school just yesterday, and some young kids, he was playing Santa Claus. Here comes Santa Claus. Here comes Santa Claus. And some kids say, you're not Santa Claus. You President Obama. And President Obama knows he should have passed reparations for descendants of child of slavery. But he could only do so much because Congress was anti. He could have did it through executive order. Just like President Biden could do it through executive order. Just like President honest Abraham Lincoln did it through executive order. It's time. It's so important that we have that conversation. It makes my stomach gargle a little bit, or it could be all those vegetable shakes I've been making up. I've been juicing watermelon. I've been juicing some collard green. I've been juicing some kale. I've been juicing beets. I've been juicing lemon and lime. I've been juicing some reishi mushroom and also some celery and some avocado. And my waistline is shrinking. It's amazing when you get what happens when you get the crap out of you. If that makes sense to you, no pun intended. But at the same time, I don't like crap unless it's in the toilet. And it's crap not to have a conversation about reparations when a foreign government's over here asking for all that money. Give me some praise. I want to get into a little bit of, Draymond Green was suspended. Who cares? Are you going to put as much information and effort into reparations? I got a little bit of the Big C's NBA basketball power rankings because of mine is a terrible thing to waste. Thank God, Big C, I was waiting on some sports. You got more black Americans with a microphone on their face, and they don't even have the balls to do what President Zelensky's doing, which is ask for the money. Is Draymond Green going to be suspended? I don't believe he should be suspended. I think he should. I think he should not. Here comes Santa Claus. Here comes Santa Claus. Ho, ho, ho. While we're all out going into debt trying to buy things, President Zelensky's trying to get the money. He said, show me the money. I'm just trying to find a few more black men and white women too, that believe in what President Abraham Lincoln stood. As Congress is about to go on pause, there's over 172 members of the Congress and the Senate that they co-signed on H.R. 40, a bill put together for reparations. You have H.R. 40, and you have AB 3121. I just wish our politicians would talk about it so much that the news would put them on television. They put a foreign government on TV at the White House asking for more money, more money, more money. But no one to talk about reparations. I got the Minnesota Timberwolves. They rise to the top while the Lakers and the Pacers, they also make a little move in Big C's NBA power rankings. No matter what happened with Draymond Green, he should be championing reparations as he's being suspended and see if we can suspend the lack of attention that's given to it. Number one in Big C's NBA power rankings, I have I'm not going to start number one. I'm going to do my top 10 Big C's NBA top 10 power rankings because that's what I want to do. And then I want to finish off with some more thoughts on what we should ask for Christmas. They say, I think Yale University did a study on their graduating senior class, and they said that the 3% of the graduating class that had their goals in writing on a piece of paper, they came back and studied their progress 20 years later, and their 3% had accumulated more wealth than the 97% combined that did not write their goals down. That's called a clue. I'm asking for 100. In fact, I'm asking for $6 billion. And I even wrote it down. I keep writing down I'm a billionaire already. A lot of times, I went to the store yesterday with a lottery ticket, and I said, as they were checking my ticket, I said, God, I want to win the lottery. And the ticket came back, I won $4. I said, 4? That's not what I'm saying, God. So when I bought the $500 million Powerball, I said, God, thank you for letting me win the $500 million, and I wrote it down. Give that some praise. No need in buying your tickets. I've already won. I got number 10 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. I have number 10, and you may or may not agree, but it's my story, and I'm going to stick with it. I got number 10 at the Dallas Mavericks. The good old boy Dallas Mavericks. They've had success down the back nine before the holidays come up. The Mavs have had Maxi Kleber for just 5 games, and they've been without Grant Williams for the last 2. Now Kyrie Irving is out with a heel contusion suffered when Dwight Powell landed on him on Friday, and they have to get healthy. But I'm telling you, I like this team. The great Luka Doncic will do what he can to get them over the hump, if that makes sense to you. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got number 9 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. I got the Sacramento Kings. Light the beam. Light the beam. Light the beam. For reparations, they need to light that beam, and they know it's true. But I got them because their offense, when they're hitting, they can hit. Last night, they had a hitch in the giddy up against the LA Clippers, but the Pelicans remain kind of the thing that stops the Kings from playing great. They have a hard time beating them. Having beaten Phoenix on Friday, the Kings are an 8-0 against the other 15 teams. They're at least 2 games over 500, but now they're 0-3 against New Orleans after losing at home in the season tournament quarterfinals last week. But the Kings began December with a great second quarter against Denver, but they remain the league's second worst second quarter team, having been outscored by nearly 14 points per 100 possessions. Mike Brown will get that turned around. The Kings have a great shooting team, but they got to realize when that three is not falling, just take it to the basket and put it in the hole. The way the great Tiger Woods would put it in the hole, if that makes sense to you. I got number 8 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. It's my opinion, and I'm going to stick with it. I got number 8. It may not be a popular choice, but I got the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers lost the in-season tournament final, but they were 6-0 in the tournament games that counted toward the regular season standings between the 2 Eastern Conference favorites, Boston and Milwaukee, to get to the conference championship game. The Pacers beat the Celtics on the 3-point range, 57-36, and beat the Bucks in the paint, 74-60, which is pretty amazing when you think about that team. So I got them in there at number 8. That's just my story, and I'm sticking with it. Not everybody agrees, but I'm going to agree with it. I got number 7 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. The Los Angeles Lakers, the 7 in-season tournament games were not the toughest slate of games in regards to the strength of the opponents, but they did beat 3 good teams on their way to the NBC Cup, or the NBA Cup, make that sense. And then they certainly found a formula for their success. The Lakers would be a great defensive team. And on Saturday, they kept the great Tyrese Halliburton in check, held the Pacers to just 109 points and 106 possessions. The Lakers can turn it on. They got to have a healthy LeBron James and a healthy Anthony Davis. It's also clear that the Lakers can dominate their opponents inside, and that's how they beat the Warriors last year in the NBA playoffs. So I got them number 7 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. I got number 6 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. Is my party, and I can cry if I want to. I got number 7. I got the Philadelphia 76ers. The great Joel Embiid, from a 2-game absence, who dropped 50 in Washington on Wednesday. The Sixers won both of their games, though they face a fourth-quarter deficit against both the Wizards and the Hawks without the great Trae Young. 3 takeaways. The 76ers attempted 42 more free throws than their opponents last week. Joel Embiid had just 1 fewer attempt, 28, than the Wizards and the Hawks combined, 29 over the 2 games. I call that 800 gamma. No way one player has more free throws than 2 teams that they're playing against. But that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. That's just the way love goes. I think the great Janet Jackson told us that. Number 6 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings, I got the Milwaukee Bucks. The most efficient offense, 127 points per 100 possessions in the quarterfinals and semifinals of the in-season tournament. But their defense was good enough against the Pacers on Thursday. 3 takeaways. I think the Pacers had one of their worst shooting games of the season on Thursday, but committed just 10 turnovers and turned 15 offensive rebounds into 23 second-chance points, with 7 of those 23 coming on the 9-2 run that put the game away at the closing minutes. That's my opinion. The Bucks, they have the league's 5th biggest drop in defensive rebound percentage, 75% for second place, and the 71%, 15th this season. They got to get better, and I know as we get down the back 9 of the NBA, I think they will. I got number 4 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. Whether people believe in this or not, I got the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're a young team, and they're just going to get better. The league's second-ranked three-point shooting team had a couple of off nights, 13 of 50 combined from beyond the arc last week. Take the ball to the basket. The Thunder managed to split the two games in their series, and it was 3-1 against the Warriors. And then the takeaways, the Thunder's biggest weakness is on the glass. They ranked 29th in offensive rebounding. What if they were in the top 9? They'd be amazing. But then 30th in defensive rebounding. That's not good, but they can score. And there are 2 games last week. Their 2 worst rebounding games of the season, but Golden State could only get 20 second chance points out of their 24 offensive rebounds. That's my story, and sticking with it. Golden State committed 29 turnovers, and you can't beat a team when you turn the ball over 29 times. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got number 3 in Big C's NBA power rankings. I got the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets saw the end of their 8-game winning streak against the Clippers. 2 nights later, they saw the end of their 10-game winning streak, going back-to-back Game 5 of the finals at home. They now have their first 3-game losing streak since April. 3 takeaways. The great Jamal Murray, he was back and forth. Think about it. He's back for both games, but he's got to get his win back. The Nuggets starting lineup they outscored LA and Houston by 15 points in his 43 total minutes last week. But Denver was outscored by 32 points in 53 minutes with at least one reserve on the floor. It was the 5th and 6th times that the Nuggets have gone on to lose a game in which they outscored their opponents with the great Joker, Nikola Jokic, on the floor. They got to fix that, but I think they're still in pretty good position. I have them at Big C's number 3 in NBA power ranking. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Who's number 1, Curry? Tell me who's number 1. I'm trying to tell you number 1, but give me some time. I'm going to tell you number 2 in Big C's NBA power rankings. I know people may not agree, but the Minnesota Timberwolves. What? Timberwolves? Anthony Edwards, he re-aggravated his hip injury early on Friday, but the Wolves have won 6 straight games, 16 of the past 18, with the Celtics losing last week. Minnesota has the league's best record. It's not about best records. It's like Florida State is undefeated, but Alabama and Texas got into the college football bowl games because they're better teams. Better record doesn't always mean better team. The last 4 wins come against Utah, Charlotte, San Antonio, and Memphis. The Timberwolves, they trailed in the fourth quarter of 2 of those 4 games, but they also have the best record at 8-2 in games played between the 19 teams that are currently over 500, having allowed just 107 points per 100 possessions over those 10 games. I like what they're doing. They're a young team. They're fast. The Timberwolves have allowed 7.6 points fewer per 100 possessions than the league average, 113.8. That would be tied for the 2019-2020 Bucks for the best differential in the last 16 seasons. So they're young, they're fast, they're going to keep getting better, but I still don't think they're the number 1. In my opinion, Big C's number 1 team in the Big C's NBA power rankings, just for now. The Boston Celtics, they still are undefeated at home. They won 17 straight regular season games at TD Garden. And Havlicek, what do they say, Johnny Most? Havlicek inbounds to Paris. Paris over to Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge over to Larry Bird. Larry Bird over to who you throw it to? The guy that always throws the ball out of bounds. You got to stop throwing the ball out of bounds, Jason Tatum. If he can do that, the Celtics are going to have a great chance at getting back to the finals. 17 straight at home at TD Gardens, but they needed to win on the road to make it to Las Vegas, and they could not get it done. Well, who cares? Maybe it's good they didn't go to Las Vegas. So with their in-season tournament quarterfinal loss to Indiana, the Celtics have dropped their last 3 road games and scored less efficient than the league average in their last 5. After scoring 133 points on 99 possessions against the Knicks, top 10 defense, they've declined a little bit. But I think once they get that Christmas break, I think they're going to come out and show that they're truly one of the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. That's Big C's NBA Finals. And I got my power ranking. I got to tell you, I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy because that's where I come from. I want to praise on my mother's side, my beautiful great-grandmother called her Mama, beautiful, loving, kind woman. Lots of love in the family, lots of food in the belly. My great-granddaddy called him Pop, from a military man and from a Negro League baseball player. The real MacGyver can fix anything, planes, trains, and automobiles. And then my beautiful grandmother, Mud Deer, beautiful, loving, kind woman, a seer, could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And then my wonderful grandfather, Hezekiah, another wonderful person. Get off the top, look at a person, tell you a lot about their past, present, and their future. Then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine, the best person I ever met in my life. And then I love giving my mama praise. Give my mama praise, praise, praise. Always saying rise and shine. On my father's side, my grandfather, Albert Curry, a pastor, had 3 churches and had 2 gas stations that he built in Oakland. But he also owned 40 acres of land like the Emancipation Proclamation that President Zelensky knows about more than our black leadership. Because he came and said, show me the money! And we're still shucking and driving. What about Tremont Green? Is Tremont Green going to be suspended? Enough of that stuff. Focus on reparations. And my granddaddy, just an amazing man, the 40 acres that he owned, like the Emancipation Proclamation with Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, President Abraham Lincoln. My beautiful grandmother, Alberta Curry, working side by side with my granddaddy with the 3 churches, and the 2 gas stations in Oakland. I was 8 years old walking through a hallway. About 10 o'clock at night, I felt somebody touch me on my forehead, and she said, what are you doing, young man, going to get some more cookies? I said, what are you doing up, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, what are you doing, young man, going to get some more cookies? I said, cookies are baby crap to what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations. And she let me have some cookies anyway. But she said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And now I believe with all my heart, mind, body, and soul, I'm going to be the first sports show, podcaster, news person that champions reparations now, reparations forever. I believe I'm going to do that. You can give that some praise because it's happening. Really appreciate my grandmother. My beautiful father from the United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night, always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. And then love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning. When Todd would speak, always saying go forward. A voracious reader. I love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College student. I'm telling you, graduated 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. She's the first one to help me set up an interview for Big C Sports back in the day at Salem Media. It became the first time in the history of the United States of America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before. I love you, Daisy, with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. She would also help me set up when college coaches came to the West Coast to do work with Big C Sports, now also featured in NBC News, CBS News, ABC News, Fox News, and the Associated Press. Daisy set up that first interview. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, smart, erudite, a good man. You can be anything you want to be, Malcolm. Always trust God. Malcolm helped me save trees. One day, I used to always get newspapers and look up stats for players and teams for the Big C Sports podcast. One day, Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. Now on 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms. One day, Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. And now it's streaming on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. He said, Daddy, he said, you'll see your show come up. And now it's there. Malcolm, give me anything you want to be. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. I'm so proud of your son. And then Big C, with all that wealth and knowledge over the years, like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn, always saying you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Let's get ready to rumble. I'm going to act reparations now, reparations forever. I'm telling you, we have to get this done. If President Zelensky has the balls to do it, where's our black leadership? I'm gonna nominate myself to black leadership, part of the chair of the National Black Wall Street Project, and I want to give that some praise. That's important. As you always know, faith comes by hearing. I'm gonna tell you, if you're gonna drink, don't drive. If you're gonna drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. But don't let someone you love drink and get behind the wheel of a car and drive. The life you save may be your own or somebody that you love. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, you know what time it is. Back by popular demand, as I've told you, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He is known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty. I can't possibly be beat because every time I listen to Big C Sports, it makes me want to say, reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly and I sting like a bee. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, just pick up the phone and call 911 because things change when the police show up. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day. Hold on, Trey. You didn't honor President Abraham Lincoln. Oh, let's honor President Abraham Lincoln so I don't forget, like a lot of people in Congress have forgotten. What did President Abraham Lincoln tell President Joe Biden in Congress to do? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, you gotta say it like we just won the game. What did President Abraham Lincoln tell President Joe Biden in Congress to do in order to get reelected? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. But you already said like your team just won the championship. What did President Abraham Lincoln tell President Joe Biden to do if he wants to get reelected? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.